Well, welcome to Metaphysical Bible Study. This is part 2 of Noah's Ark as we decode Noah's Ark. Last week when we read Genesis 6 and decoded that, a lot of insights that came through. We recognize that the ark represents our mind, right? We noticed that the flesh is actually our 5 senses. And we know that the name Noah in Hebrew means rest. And so what we're coming to understand is that Noah's Ark is really a story of meditation and how to renew our minds through meditation, through that stillness, through the storm, right? How to find that peace within. How do we bring our animalistic thoughts within, both the unclean and the clean, right? And how do we subdue the conscious mind, the beast of the conscious mind, right? And come out of the storm back, return to peace. So we'll be going deeper into that. Again, we decoded Genesis 6 last week, and that was the beginning of the Noah's Ark story. This is part two. So excited to have everybody here. Excited to have everyone here. And with that, real quick, did you all get the email? Let me see. Did the email go out? All right. Cool. So if you have a King James version of the Bible, please go get that. If you have a King James version of the Bible, please go get that. We're going to get started. Again, turn to Genesis chapter 7 and 8. That's what we're decoding today. We did Genesis chapter 6 last week. All 3 chapters are the beginning of the flood story. And that's what we're going to be doing today. Metaphysical Bible study is different. When you come to Metaphysical Bible study, the intention is that you have read and decoded the scriptures for yourself in advance. Okay, this is not a space like traditional church where you come and you let me do all the work during the week, and then I give you my cliff notes. The intention of this space is for you to be able to go directly to Mother, Father, God, your source, your creator, whatever you'd like to call it, yourself, right? And so I intend for you to come here prepared. If I wanted to just do Bible study on my own, then I could just do it in the closet of my own mind or in the quiet of my own home. But I've decided to share this journey publicly. But I do that publicly so that we can bring our mastermind together and share our insights and our thoughts that we've come up with based on our readings and understandings and revelations. Okay, so I'm not a minister. I'm not a preacher. I am a bibliophile. I am someone who loves this particular text and the wisdom that is in it. And I'm inviting you to go on that journey with me. But again, you shall not rely on me. I'm inviting you to go on this journey with me, but you shall not rely on me for the truth. You need to go within and find the truth for yourself. And that's how we approach this. So this is different. You can't just come here passively. And if this is your first time, that's perfectly fine. If this is your first time, that's perfectly fine. If you are just coming for the first time and joining us, all right? But in the future, you are meant to read the text for yourself in advance, right? And come prepared, all right? So excited to have you here. And we're going to get started again. Go get the King James version of the Bible. If you are joining us on social media, then please go to jointruthseekers.com, plural, jointruthseekers.com, plural. And that's where you'll be able to see my screen and everything that I'm teaching from. I actually take notes on my tablet on the actual PDF version of the Bible. And so you'll be able to see my notes and everything here as we go through this process. All right. So with that, we're going to get started. And I'm going to share my screen here on Zoom. One second. What's going on? All right. And share. So before we go forward, we always like to start in meditation, and that's what this story is particularly about. It's about meditation, and so we like to start there. We like to go within the quiet of our own mind and get still, right? To put all the other and things that are swirling through your mind at this moment in time, put them aside and just be fully here and present, and not to hear me, right? Not to hear me, but to hear your source. And so when we think about meditation, I'm very particular with language. So we in heaven and then we exhale. We in heaven, okay? Not we inhale, we in heaven and then we exhale. We take in the oxygen, the breath of life, right? And then we exhale, we release the carbon, I think monoxide, the carbon monoxide, I'm pretty sure. And so when you think about life, right? Anytime you want to get connected to your source or your creator, all you have to do is go back to the breath. All you have to do is go back to the breath. Why? Because the breath is the only thing that we as human beings do not control, right? We do not fully control the breath, with the exception of committing suicide. The only way to stop your breath, there's no other way to stop your breath, right? So what that leads me to believe is that there is something breathing through us. And as long as that thing is breathing through us, right, then we still have work to do. We still have life. And that is the source of life. We know that God breathed into Adam's nostrils, right? And you're actually going to see a lot when it comes to breath here in the story of Noah, which I believe is actually a story of meditation and how to renew our minds through meditation. All right. So with that, we're just going to take 5 deep breaths in, and then we're going to go into our Truth Seekers prayer, and then we will get into the text as quickly as we can. All right. So, something's happening with my iPad. Let's try this again. Okay. All right. Can you hear on Zoom? Can you see my screen? On Zoom, can you all see my screen? Okay, cool. Good. Beautiful. All right. So with that, what I want you to do is I want you to inhale for 5 seconds, and then I want you to hold for 2, and then I want you to exhale for 4. All right. So we're going to do 4, 2, 4. We're going to do 4, 2, 4. Okay. So I'm going to do 5 of those just to get centered. You can do whatever you like. Close your eyes, hands, your knees. There's no right way. There's no dogma here. Okay. In fact, we aren't even studying the Bible from religious context, because it is not a religious book. It is a spiritual book, but it is not religious. All right. There was no religion when the Bible first came into being. All right. So let's go through that process now. So we're going to do 4 seconds in, hold for 2, and then release for 4. Okay. First breath in. Fill up your lungs, stomach expanded, hold for 2, release. Inhale slowly for 4 seconds. In heaven, excuse me. Hold for 2. Release. Okay, number 3, in heaven for 4 seconds. Hold for 2. Release. And in heaven again for 4 seconds. Hold for 2. Release. And in heaven for 4. Last one. Hold for 2. Release. Okay. So you do not have to go to any physical structure or temple in order to connect with your creator. You can always go into the temple, which is right here. Temple right here, right? These are your temples. You can always go there. You can always go to the breath to connect with your source. We plug in our cell phones all the time to keep them charged. We stay connected to Wi-Fi all the time. And in the same way, you can stay plugged in with your source by simply going back to your breath. You don't need a religion. You don't need any text. You don't need any book. You don't need any mantras. You don't need any words, right? You don't need any prayer beads. You don't need any of that. You can simply pause and go back to the breath and connect with your source. All right. So with that, keep moving forward. So we have a particular methodology here at Metaphysical Bible Study for actually decoding, and I want to share that methodology with you all. Where is it? All right, and it's called How to Crack the Code. How to Crack the Bible Code. Right, and so for those of you who are on social media, this is what it looks like. Again, if you want to join us, go to jointruthseekers.com, plural, and you can actually see my screen. I'm sharing this on Zoom right now, and I'm going to read to you the 5-step process. So how to crack the Bible code. It's an acronym for crack, C-R-A-C-K. So the first one is C, connect with God. Enter into thy closet, and when thou hast shut thy door, pray to the Father, which is in secret. So that is connecting, and that's what we did with our meditation. And again, we all have different points of connection, just like you may have siblings and you all have different points of connection to your mother or your father, right? We all have different points of connection. So whatever you call that connection, you may call it mom, somebody else may call it mommy, somebody, the other sibling may call ma'am. It all depends. You get to call it whatever you want to call it, right? As long as it's respectful to that entity or that source. Then the R is to read. You read the text with new eyes, release old programming, perspectives, and literal interpretations. So especially when it comes to the story of Noah, we recognize that it would be almost impossible for any animals to get from Australia to the Middle East, right? We recognize that with as many species as are on this planet, it would be impossible to fit 2 of every kind onto a boat the size of half a football field, okay? Even if there are 3 levels, it'd be humanly impossible. And on top of that, to keep food for them for 150 days and to manage their waste with literally 8 people. With 8 people, it'd be humanly impossible, right? It'd almost be impossible just to even make that boat, to cut down all that wood, to shave it, carve it, and fashion it in such a way. Now, of course, yes, with God, all things are possible. We don't know how people made the pyramids, but I guarantee you that there's more than 8 people who made the pyramids, right? And so even with modern day technology, they've had men try to replicate making that boat, and it's almost humanly impossible, okay? So this is when we take these kind of stories literally. We also know that in the story, the waters went up about 22.5 feet. And that would suggest that there was no other mountain that was actually 22.5 feet tall, right? And so there's just so much evidence in the text itself that shows that this is not a story meant to be taken literally. Noah's name actually means rest, right? Noah's name means rest. And if you look at all the stories and allegories that are in the Bible, you'll find that the characters' names have significant meanings in relationship to the story. Similar to how Neo was named Neo, or the one in the Matrix, as opposed to his name just being Cliff, right? Because his name was symbolic and congruent with who he was in the story, okay? So this is critical to understand. The next letter is A, or ask, okay? Ask is ask for under, inner, overstanding from God, okay? Ask and ye shall receive, seek and you will find. So oftentimes in religion, especially in the church context, they've actually discouraged you from asking questions, right? But it says seek ye first. Seek requires you to ask. Seek requires you to ask. And so in religious context, if you ask anything that is against the methodology or the dogma of that particular religious group, they'll tell you that you're going astray, or to lean not on thy own understanding. I'm not leaning on my own understanding. I got a divine download, and I'm asking if there's anybody else in it who got the same divine download that I got, right? And so in many ways, if you are not in 100% alignment with the dogma that exists in many religious traditions, they will consider you going astray, right? And so here you have safety to ask, right? You have safety to ask. And that's one of the powerful things about this space. And in this space, I'm not trying to convince you or convert you to see things in the way that I see them. That's not what I'm here for. I'm perfectly welcome to you having a different perspective, because your perspective and your lens on the creator and the source and whatever you call it is going to be different than mine, though we still all share the reality that we're all children of God, period. We're all children of God. That's my religion. If I had to name my religion, that's what it would be. All right. So from there, we go into the next C, which is the code. And when we code, we are coding the names, as I just shared with you. Noah, right, means to rest. We code the words. We code the nouns, we code the numbers, right? And this story is full of numbers, and I'm getting stronger in my numerology and in my numerology and understanding what all of these numbers mean. If you understand the Hebrew language, numbers and letters have strong correlations and significance. You'll see numbers like 40 days and 40 nights come up many times. The number 7 is consistent in this particular story. Of course, we know that 7 goes back to 7 days of creation, etc. So 7 comes up often. So these numbers aren't just random numbers. They have significance. And so we're doing our best to code them. And I hope that there's somebody in the community who was listening, a truth seeker, who really understands numbers at this level and can help us understand what these numbers mean. Okay. So we're looking for, we code through meditation, divine downloads, the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary, and the Concordance, right? These books were not written in English, right? And even once they were translated in Old English, right? And so we have to go back to the Hebrew and the Aramaic and the Latin to really understand. And sometimes their translations are not perfect. They're not perfect. And we as truth seekers have to be able to see beyond the imperfect translations and really get to the truth and the core of what these allegories and these stories are really all about. And then finally, we knock. And what does knock mean? Knock means a genuine ask to your source, whatever you call it, for understanding, right? We knock on the door, which is the secret, the parable, the metaphor, the allegory, shall be open. That is what we are seeking to open. That is the door. Okay. And so Jesus said over and over that many of his disciples, right, those who were rocking with him, did not understand. Right. And he only spoke in parables. And so we are asking for the deeper understanding. When we're talking about meta means goes beyond, right? And so to go beyond, and you see this in the word metamorphosis. You're going beyond a caterpillar into a new, higher form of evolution. And so we are looking at these stories for the higher form of evolution that they can draw unto us, as opposed to looking at them literally. And from those insights, those deeper meanings, these lessons should give us insight in terms of how we can live. I believe that the Bible is actually a manual for how how to use our minds. And if you wonder why I say that, and the reason is because there's so many mental aspects of the Bible that go uncovered. One of my favorite scriptures is, "Be ye transformed by the renewing of your what? Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind," right? And then, does anybody know where Jacob wrestled the angel or God? Does anybody know where Jacob wrestled the angel of God at a place called Peniel? Peniel. And what is Peniel? Peniel is the pineal gland, which is your third eye or in your mind, right? Anybody know where Jesus was crucified at? Jesus was crucified at Golgotha, which is the place of the skull. So you see all these references throughout the book about our mind. And so what we've uncovered in Genesis is that when we look at the conscious mind, which represents earth, we look at sea, which represents the subconscious mind, and then when we look at the heavens, which represent the superconscious mind, when you start to look at these stories through that lens, right, you start to see the revelation begins to happen for you, right? When you can get beyond the literal interpretation. Now, there are powerful insights alone, just off the literal interpretation. And that's what many of the churches have taught, right? Just off the literal interpretation, we can find all kinds of moral meanings in these stories. But to truly get to the deeper levels of understanding and consciousness, we have to go beyond just the surface level, right? And so that's what we are exploring here in Metaphysical Bible Study, and I'm so glad to have you. So again, if you're on social media and you're joining us for the first time, please go to jointruthseekers.com. Again, that's jointruthseekers.com, and you can actually visit us, be on the Zoom, the live Zoom here, and be able to see my screen. All right. So before we go forward, one last thing to get us settled is the Truth Seekers Prayer. And I'm going to read that right now. And then we'll get started. So again, go grab your Bible. You have one. And I'm going to read the Truth Seekers Prayer. And this was a divine download that I got and was able to weave together. So for those of you on Zoom, go ahead and stream, go ahead and take a screenshot. Okay. So called the Truth Seeker's Prayer. We are truth seekers. We seek the whole truth and nothing but the truth. We know that the truth shall set us free. John 8:32. We believe that when we ask, it shall be given to us. When we seek, we shall find. And when we knock, the door shall be opened unto us. Matthew 7:7. We know that as we sit in the temple of our minds, right, which are here, listening for your voice and asking questions, in that holy place, we shall find understanding and answers. Luke 2:46-47. For there is nothing covered that shall not be revealed, neither hid that shall not be known. Luke 12:2. We know that because the Bible is heavily coded in allegories, Galatians 4:24, similes, Luke 13:18, and parables, Matthew 13:34, many who think they are seeing see not, and hearing they hear not, neither do they understand, including those who call themselves your disciples, Matthew 13:13. We know to not rely on the letter, but the spirit of the word, for the letter killeth, meaning taking it literally, killeth the word, but the spirit giveth life, 2 Corinthians 3:6. We are meant to study to show thyself approved unto God, rightly dividing the word of truth, 2 Timothy 2:15. Wash our feet, which represents our understanding, so we may build our church or temple, which is our individual belief system, upon a rock of truth, that we are the sons and daughters of God, Matthew 16:16. But we feel free to renew our minds, Romans 12:2, by destroying and rebuilding our temple over and over and get better and better, leaving no stone standing, Matthew 24:2. We know that when we pray, we shall enter into the closet of our minds, shut the door, and pray to God, which is in secret, Matthew 6:6. And we also know that where 2 or 3 are gathered together in your name, I am is in the midst of them, Matthew 18:20. We pray that this metaphysical Bible study blesses, builds, and brings all children of God closer to you, whether inside or outside of a religious context, even if that means wrestling with our concept of you for our blessing, like Jacob in Genesis 32. We love you and thank you with all of our hearts, minds, and souls. Matthew 22:37. Ashe, amen, and so it is. All right. So y'all ready? How many of y'all ready? Because it's about to go down. All right. So I always have to ask this, which is how many people read Genesis 7 and 8 in advance of being here? How many people read Genesis 7 and 8 in advance of being here? Okay. Again, this is not passive spiritual growth. This is not you just show up and, oh, I showed up to church today and I checked off that list. No, that's passive, right? You're letting somebody else do the true work, and then you're getting their cliff notes. You will never get to your highest level of spiritual consciousness when you go that path, right? And so here I challenge you to do your own work in advance, and you bring what you studied and decoded to the conversation, right? And so I'm in this text every single day. I'm in this text every single day. And if you want to be able to see at the depths and the levels that I'm able to see, then you're going to have to do the same thing. I'm not just going to let you borrow my eyes. Okay. I'm not just going to let you borrow my eyes. I'll teach you how I see. But again, I don't want you to, I do not want you to, I'm not trying to teach you what I see. I do not want to teach you what I see. I want you to come to your own understanding and revelations. I'm not trying to convince or convert you here. That's what's different about this space. That's what's unique about this space. So I really encourage you, for those of you who have been here multiple times already, I really, really encourage you, okay, to do your homework. Study to show thyself approved. Is that clear? Is that clear? Wow, I've never seen beautiful. Okay. I've never seen so much spam on Instagram. This is crazy. I'm gonna have to get off this platform. This is crazy. All right, cool. So with that, we are about to start. We're about to start the text, but before we get into it, we start by we fill out this particular worksheet. And so in one word, of course, we already did this for Genesis 6, but as we've gotten to Genesis 7 and 8, right? In one word, what would you say this story is about? Noah's Ark. Now that the flood is happening. So Genesis 6 is more so the building of the ark, right? Now, 7 and 8, what would you say in one word this story is about? What would you say in one word this story is about? I want to see what people came up with on their own. A renewal. That's a good one. Renewal. Whoops. Renewal. cleansing, elevation, cleansing, good. Transmutation, mutation. These are good, family. Mindset, mindset. Okay, yep, we're gonna set our mind on Arat. Okay. Reborn, patience, patience, rebirth. Good, 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 good. Second chance. Forgiveness. Good. So the word that you choose is the lens through which you are now seeing this story. Okay. And so that allows us all to extract different things from this story. And that's why it's called the living word, because each of us is going to see different things in the story. Okay. Oh, another one, faith, faith, faith. Okay, good. Now, who are the persons? Who are the persons that we have to decode? Who are the persons that we have to decode? Raising consciousness. Good one. Raising consciousness. That's literally what happens in the story, right? So Noah, Lord, Ham didn't come in yet. Not in Genesis. Ham didn't come in yet. Shem, Japheth. Oh, excuse me. Yes, and Ham. Excuse me. Shem, Ham, and Japheth. The wives. Okay. Places, Arat. I didn't spell that right. What are the places? The names of the places. Ararat. Thank you. Names of the places. Oh yeah, animals. Types of animals. Types. They weren't just all just animals. Things, the ark. Good. Raven. Dove. Cattle. Or the different types of animals. Good. Anything else? No lions. I didn't see any lions in this one. Yes, that's a good one. Clean and unclean. Clean and unclean. There was a distinction there, right? And numbers, I'm going to just add another category because it was so prevalent here. Numbers would be 40 and 7, right? 40 and 7 were two big numbers that came up. Oh yeah, olive branch. Olive branch. What does that mean? 600. Noah's age, right? 150. 27. All right. A lot of sevens. And then altar. Cool. All right, beautiful. Now, what questions came up for you? What questions came up for you as you read? What questions came up for you as you read? Or things that didn't make sense? Questions and things that didn't make sense. Dry ground, that's a good one. What does dry ground mean? Why are they so specific about that? Where were the children? Were the children? I don't think they had any children yet, according to the story. What happened to the unclean animals? Uh-oh. What happened to the unclean animals? How many of y'all caught that one? What happened to the unclean animals? Why destroy all living things? All living things. Mary said, water left over time. Oh, water left over time versus immediately. Okay. Why are wives not named? Why are wives not named? All right, good questions. Why 7 clean? Why 7 clean and 2 unclean? Good. Why the repetition? You'll see a lot of repetition here. Why the repetition? What did they eat? What did they eat? Okay. Difference between the raven and the dove. Difference between raven and dove. Good stuff. Fish weren't destroyed. Good one. Fish weren't destroyed. Fish just out there swimming. They just out there swimming. Why give burnt offerings? You only have 2 of everything. Why we burning stuff? You only got 2 of everything, or I guess you got 7 clean, and we already starting to kill stuff. Why give burnt offerings? We only have 7 pair, and we gonna start killing stuff. What is significance of Arat? You all are doing great. Okay. Good. All right, cool. Now, what's the significance of Noah's age? What does it mean? Noah's age. All right, cool. All right. When is Noah going to say something? When is Noah going to say something? Y'all are funny. It's true though, right? Why isn't Noah talking? He's just that obedient. We ain't even talking. Not okay. Okay, God, nothing, right? Nothing. All right. So cool. So let's get into it. Those are great. You all did great. All right. So let's get into chapter 7. Whoops. Let's get into chapter 7. So again, if you're joining us on Zoom, on social media, you can come over to Zoom and whoops. If you're joining us on social media, you can come over to Zoom and actually see my notes here, but it's not really about my notes. It's more about yours. And just if you want to have a richer experience and join us here on Zoom, you can go to jointruthseekers.com. That's plural. It should be pinned at the top. Again, that's jointruthseekers.com. All right. Oops. Let me switch over to my internet. All right. That should be better. That should be better. Okay, cool. All right. Y'all ready? Y'all ready? Cool. So let's get into it. So, and the Lord, so now we're going to go line by line, Genesis chapter 7, verse 1, and then we're going to go into chapter 8. All right. So, verse 1, and the Lord said unto Noah, come thou and all thy house into the ark, for thee I have seen righteous before me in this generation. All right. So, what does house mean, family? What does house mean? What does house mean? Okay, so when in the New Testament it says a house divided against itself cannot stand, what does that really mean? That just mean a wife and a husband, if they don't get along, then that marriage is going to break up? So a house is the individual, my translation is that a house is the individual mind. The individual mind, okay? So there's a larger house. My father's house has many rooms, but it's an individual house, okay? So now in my house, when I'm bringing my entire house into the ark, so the ark being the larger mind, right? The one mind. My house is my family, and my family are people who are what? Familiar to me. So my house are the familiar thoughts that I dwell in or on consistently. My house are my family or familiar thoughts that I dwell in or on consistently. Okay. So now I'm bringing my mind, my house, into this larger dwelling, which is the larger mind, which is God's mind. All right. And so that's something to consider, right? Is that our house is the individual mind that we dwell in, where we are swimming in familiar thoughts. All right. Now, from there we go into verse 2. Of every clean beast thou shalt take thee by sevens. What does that mean? How many, if I'm taking them by the sevens, the male and his female, how many am I really taking? If I'm taking them by sevens, look, y'all got it. Y'all got it. So I'm actually taking 14. Now watch this. And of the beasts that are not clean, by 2. It doesn't say twos, it says 2. So how many am I taking? How many unclean am I taking? I'm only taking 2. If it would have had an S there, then it would have been 4, but it's only 2. So it's 1 pair of unclean beasts and 7 pairs of clean. Why that ratio? That's something to consider. I don't have an answer, okay? But it's just something to consider. Now, listen to me. This is how you know this is not a story about destruction of the world. The clue is right here. If it was about the destruction of the world and all the evil that was in the world, then what would have got left off the boat? What would have got left off the boat? Why am I bringing unclean things to a new world? Why would I be bringing unclean things to a new world if the goal is to get rid of all the uncleanliness in this world? That wouldn't make any sense at all. Okay, so we know that beasts represent which kind of thoughts? We have superconscious thoughts, we have conscious thoughts, and we have subconscious thoughts. Beasts represent what? Beasts represent the surface level conscious thought. It's the surface level conscious thoughts, okay? Fish represent which thought? Fish represent which kind of thought? Subconscious, submarine, below, can't see it, right? And the symbol of Jesus was what? Not a cross. What was the symbol used for Jesus in Christianity? It was a fish. It was a fish. And Jesus said, I'll make you a what of men? He said, I'll make you a what of men? I will make you a fisherman of men. Y'all seeing the connection? I'm not operating and I'm not focused on trying to fix you at a conscious level. The only way to reprogram the mind is through what? The subconscious. And so when Jesus walked on water, it showed, it was a demonstration, an allegory that he had mastered the subconscious mind. He had mastered the subconscious mind. All right. And then fowls represent which kind of thought? Fowls represent which kind of thought? Fowls or birds represent the superconscious, the higher thoughts. So we have superconscious, right? Heaven, birds, and fowls. Then we have conscious, beast, right? Earth. Then we have subconscious, fish, right? Water, sea. Everybody see that? Everybody see that? There's 3 levels. And how many levels were on the ark? How many levels were on the ark from chapter 6? 3 levels were on the ark. Exactly 3 levels. The same 3 levels of the mind. All right. So listen to this. Verse 3, of fowls also of the air by sevens, the male and female, to keep seed alive upon the face of the earth. What do you notice about the fowls that's different than the others? What do you notice about the fowls that is different than the others? What do you notice about the fowls? There's no unclean or clean fowls, family. There's no distinction between clean or unclean. Because superconscious thoughts are always what? Godly thoughts are always what? They're always clean and pure. So no distinction needs to be made. Thoughts that come down from on high are always pure. So I don't need to make a distinction between clean and unclean. Now, for Noah to make the distinction between clean and unclean animals, what did Eve have to do? For Noah to make the distinction between clean and unclean animals, good and evil animals, what did Eve have to do? Mary got it. She had to eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. That's the only way Noah would know the distinction between what is this and what is that. That's the only way. Right? And so we know that this represents duality, right? Now, what this is saying as we go into this idea of duality, what this is saying is that God, when the world was created, initially named everything what? Initially named everything what? Good. But then there was this tree of knowledge of good and evil. Not that there was evil, but that there was knowledge of good and evil, which was represent duality. And God comes to the awareness that this world that I've decided to create cannot just be good. I'm saying God is good, God is great, but I'm going to allow duality in this world. Because if I wasn't going to allow duality, then I would not have had Noah bring unclean beasts onto the ark. So God is now accepting duality, not rejecting, but accepting the duality of the world. And this is where freedom of choice comes in, where we have the choice between good and bad. If you were to go to a movie and it was just called Heaven, and just everything in the movie was good, everything in the movie was just good, it just good things just kept happening, how well do you think that movie would do at the box office? It was a movie called Heaven and everything was good. From day one, everything was just good. Everything just happened, which is good, 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 good. How would that movie do at the box office? It wouldn't do well. And it would be boring for the characters in the movie. And guess what? We are the characters in the movie. If everything was good, then we would have no choice whatsoever. Now, all things are working together for our good, but we can make choices that are out of alignment with the greatest good, which is God. We have the freedom to make choices that are out of alignment with the greater good. But guess what? Even when we make those choices, it's not bad because all things are working together for our good. You got an alcoholic parent, guess what? All things are working together for your good. You ended up getting diagnosed with something, guess what? All things are working together for your good. Your perception, your knowledge of good and evil, your perception might cause you to put that situation in a certain box as good or evil, but from the divine mind, it doesn't see or perceive anything as evil. It is all good. It is only our perception, our limited perception, our house that can perceive something as evil. Yeah, we have mass shootings. Guess what? All things are working together for good. In our limited understanding of how God operates, yeah, it's going to suck. For those families, it sucks. It feels like evil. But I do know that something good will come out of all of those children's lives, all of those people's lives. And maybe that is what their life was intended to do. Did I want Emmett Till to die in the way that he did? No, not at all. But I do believe that his life meant something, and it actually led to greater good overall. That's my belief. But that's because that's how I choose to see the world. Okay? So I said this before. If a bee pulled up on a flower, if I have a limited perspective and a bee pulled up on a flower and was like, give me your pollen, right? And then takes the pollen and dips out, in my limited perspective, I'm gonna be like, yo, that bee just stole that flower's pollen, right? It looks like theft based on my limited consciousness, but really what that is part of the larger process called pollination, which is necessary for the entire world. But my limited perspective will see that as messed up. That bee just jacked that helpless flower. That little beautiful helpless flower, that bee just jacked it. You see what I'm saying? So this is really important because God is saying, no, don't just leave out unclean things. And this is key because there's this positive thinking movement, and I used to be part of it. It used to be there's this positive thinking movement where just think positive. But running away from the negative does not mean that you are positive. Avoiding positive thoughts only gives them, avoiding negative thoughts only gives them energy. Trying to avoid alcohol only gives alcohol energy over your life. Trying to avoid this addiction only gives it energy over your life. What we have to do is bring it all within, accept it as part of who we are, and just learn how to navigate it, but not to get rid of it. We're learning how to navigate it, not to get rid of it. It is coming on the boat. It is part of your experience. And in the evolution of your experience, you get to learn how to master or control that seemingly negative urge or desire. Y'all with me? So we have unclean beasts on this boat, on this ark, okay? So, sorry, y'all, I'm getting in. We only on verse 4. All right? So, for yet 7 days, here we see the number 7. And I will cause it. We've seen 7 a couple times. 7 fowls bring 7 pairs. We've seen 7 days. So anybody who's expert in numbers, help us, all right? Help us understand. We know that 7 is the number of perfection or completion, right? That God rested on the 7th day, right? So, and I will cause it to rain upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights. Where else do we see 40 days and 40 nights in this entire text? 2 other main instances of 40 days and 40 nights. Israelites were in the wilderness 40 days, 40 nights, and Jesus fasted 40 days, 40 nights. So Jesus was resisting temptation. The Israelites were learning how to rely on God. And here we have this rain coming down for 40 days and 40 nights, okay? And every living substance that I have made will I destroy from off the face of the earth. No, that word substance really caught me. Substance, okay? First it was animals, right? We know that there's plants and fauna and things of that nature, but the word substance was used here, okay? And it's going to come up again. Verse 5, Genesis chapter 6, verse 5, and Noah did according to all that the Lord commanded him, okay? Noah did all that the Lord commanded him, all right? All right, so moving forward, verse 6, and Noah was 600 years old when the flood of water was upon the earth. 600. What does that mean? 600. Why 600? Why does it matter? Why does it matter? I'm sure it matters, but why? Okay. And verse 7, and Noah went in and his sons and his wife and his sons' wives with him into ark because of the waters of the flood. Does anybody see the sequence of entering into the ark? What's the sequence? Because this would be bad chivalry based on this sequence. Anybody see the sequence? Male in first. That's just poor training. That's poor home training, isn't it? That's poor home training. You were supposed to open the door. What happened to chivalry? You're supposed to let the ladies in first. Why? Because we're not talking about men and women. We're not talking about actual men and women. Okay? When you're going into meditation, what has to lead the way? When you're going into meditation, what has to lead the way? The conscious mind has to lead the way into meditation. And then the women, which represents the men. And then the subconscious mind has to follow. When you're going into meditation, you have to consciously get into meditation. The conscious mind has to go first. Then the subconscious mind follows. Okay? So this is critical, right? This is not bad chivalry. This is how we reprogram the mind. Okay? Verse 8, of clean beasts and of beasts that are not clean, and of fowls and everything that creepeth upon the earth. And we know that those things that creepeth upon the earth are what? The things that creepeth upon the earth are what? These are our creepy thoughts. These are critters. These are our lowly thoughts. Okay? The things that creepeth upon the earth are even lower than cattle. Okay? These are our creepy thoughts. And we've all had creepy thoughts. The creepy crawly things. Right? So all of that is coming on with us. It is part of our experience. Right? It is part of our experience. So verse 9, there went into unto Noah into the ark, and male and female as God had commanded Noah. Verse 10, and it came to pass after 7 days, here we go, 7 again, the number 7 again, okay, that the waters of the flood were upon the earth. All right, verse 11, in the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month. What does this mean? In the 17th day. Now, what's interesting about that word month, y'all? What's interesting about the word month? Anybody know? Anybody catch that? Why did I highlight it? It's the first time that the word month is ever used. It's the first time month is ever used. So we've gone from years and measuring age, right? But this is the first time month is ever used. And now all of a sudden there's a calendar. All of a sudden we have a calendar. So not only is it the first time it is used, we have a calendar of some sort. Okay? Just interesting. Just something to think about. All right? Not sure what it means, but it's just something that stuck out. On the 17th day of the month, the same day were all the fountains of the great deep broken up, and the windows of heaven were opened up. What is the great deep, family? What's the great deep? Don't look at my notes. What's the great deep? Coming from the bottom. The subconscious mind was opened up. And then what are the heavens? The windows of heaven are what? The superconscious. So the subconscious and the superconscious are now converging on the conscious mind from both directions. The superconscious, the windows of heaven, and the subconscious, the great deep, are now coming to the conscious mind. Right? So water is coming from both ways. All right? Y'all see that? So now, and the rain was upon the earth for 40 days and 40 nights, right? Verse 13, in the self same day entered Noah and Shem and Ham and Japheth Japheth, and the sons of Noah and Noah's wife and the 3 wives of his sons with them into the ark. So this is repetition. Okay. Verse 14, they and every beast after his kind, and all the cattle after their kind, and every creepy thing that creepeth upon the earth after his kind, and every fowl after his kind, and every bird of every sort. So I saw a pattern change. Does anybody see the pattern change here? Anybody see the pattern change here? Where's the break in the pattern? His and there. So the beasts are masculine, right? The creepy things are masculine. Birds are masculine, but the cattle, it says their kind. Not sure what that means, but the cattle says there. Okay. So they're just a break in pattern that I observed. Okay. I'm not sure what the significance might be, but there was a break in pattern. All right. And I don't take anything here lightly. So verse 15, and they went in unto Noah into the ark, 2 and 2 of all flesh, wherein is the breath of life. So we started our meditation because God is breathing through all of us, right? God is breathing through all of us. God had to breathe life into Adam's lungs, right? We see breath, but I said this was a story of what? Noah's Ark is a story of what? What is my one word? Meditation. And in meditation, what are you focused on, family? What's the one thing you're focused on in meditation? You focus on your breath. You focus on your breath. There are thoughts that you have in your mind, beasts, fowls, creepy things, and to the degree that you give breath to them determines how much life they produce. If you don't give breath to the creepy thoughts, then guess what? They can be there in the ark, but they will not reproduce. If God is breathing through us, then what are we breathing through? Then what are we breathing life into? If as above, so below, if our Creator is breathing through us, then what do we get to breathe through? We get to breathe through the various thoughts and ideas. In this allegory, the animal forms, the animalistic thoughts that are in our minds. That's what we breathe through. And our breath is actually our attention and our energy. What are we giving attention and energy to? That's what will have life. All right. So, and you want to know what's crazy? Where did Noah put all the animals? I think I shared this with y'all last week. Where did Noah put all the animals? They were in rooms, but another name for rooms in a zoo is called a cell. And where do atoms live in your body? Where do atoms, A-D-A-M or A-T-O-M, where do they live in your body? They live in your cells. They live in your cells. Can't make this up, family. All right, verse 16, and they went in male and female of all flesh, as God commanded him, and the Lord shut him in. The Lord shuts you in meditation. You lead with the conscious mind, right? You lead with the conscious mind, but then the conscious mind goes to what? The conscious mind goes to what? It goes to sleep. It goes to rest. It goes to Noah. And so something has to shut the door behind you because the conscious mind is now at rest. And when your body is at rest, what is governing your body at that time? When your body is at rest, what is governing your body? The subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is what keeps your heart beating at night while your conscious mind is asleep. The subconscious mind is what keeps your lungs breathing and all the involuntary actions in your body. The subconscious mind is still at work when your conscious mind is asleep. But guess what? That is also the time where the superconscious mind can actually move. Because what creates limitation, what creates all the limitation is the flesh, which is connected to what? The conscious mind. So why would you get a business idea at 3 a.m. in the morning while you were asleep? Why would you get $1 million business idea, or how did you get $1 million business idea at 3 a.m. while your conscious mind was asleep? Because there was no resistance. There was no resistance. So the seed could actually be planted while you were consciously asleep. I get some of my greatest divine downloads when I'm in meditation, when the conscious mind is at rest. And Noah's name means rest. It is when the mind is at rest. Noah is an allegory for the mind at the conscious mind at rest. We have to consciously go into that space. Then once we're deep enough, then the Lord, God, shuts the door and the superconscious and the subconscious are able to take over. Okay. Verse 17. Okay, actually, I wanted to share this. So meditation allows us to leave the flesh, right? Which is what's limited about us. Meditation allows us to leave the flesh. When you are meditating, all your 5 senses go away. When you were meditating, right? When you're deep in it, you don't have any 5 senses. Therefore, you are one with spirit and there are no limitations. So meditation allows. And so what is Noah's Ark all about? What is God trying to kill? What is the Lord trying to kill in Noah's Ark? The Lord is trying to kill all the flesh. The Lord is trying to kill all of the flesh. The only way I know to kill all the flesh without taking the body with it is through meditation. That's how the flesh is subdued without dying. So meditation allows us to leave the flesh when we are shut in. And the only narrow window is upwards towards enlightenment. It was dark in the ark and lonely, but that's how you return to peace and light. Okay? So, yes, everybody, it was dark in the ark. The whole foundation of the world, if God is so-called recreating the world again, Genesis 1 begins in what? Light or darkness? Genesis 1:1 begins in light or darkness. So here we are again, going in this cyclical pattern, right? Where we now have to go back into darkness, right? In the closet of our mind, in our inner temple. And the only thing is this little light, right? That we have to build. We have to create this window up here that gives God access to us. Noah built this window at the top of the ark. I don't want any other light sources coming in. I only want it coming directly from the Most High. That's enlightenment. There's no windows on this ark. You telling me that thousands and thousands of animals could have survived for 150 days in the darkness, in cages, in cells? Out of here, man. You can't be serious. In darkness? How am I supposed to tend to a lion in darkness? How am I supposed to navigate in darkness? Oh, but they had candles though. Come on, man. You just gonna let candles burn in the middle of a storm on a wood chip? You're gonna let candles burn in the middle of a tumultuous storm on a wood ship? Okay, you do that. You do that. for 150 days. You go ahead and do that. Let's see. Let's see what happens with that ship. Okay. So moving forward, this is a key scripture, y'all. And the flood was 40 days upon the earth, and the waters increased and bear up the ark, and it was lifted above the earth. Oh my God. Oh my God. You're going to see this word, you're going to see up and down all throughout this book now. And up and down, what is it representing? What is it really representing, the up and down? It's the journey of our consciousness. There's days when we're up, and there's days when we're down. There's days when we're up, there's days when we're down. We may have a streak of days when we're up, but then we go down. And even in the New Testament, now that you notice these words, you will see Jesus's journey go up and down and up and down. He'll go from I and the Father in one to Father, why have thou forsaken me? See, everybody paints this picture of Jesus as being up all the time. He went from I and the Father are one to Father, why have thou forsaken me? That is the journey of the soul. It goes up and goes down. The question is, can you hold your peace in the midst of those ups and downs? Anything that is flatline is dead. Anything that does not go up and down is dead. Everything in your body operates by rhythms and vibrations. If there's no rhythm or vibration, that's called a flat line, and that means that it is dead. So yes, even this story of Jesus, Jesus went up and down. You'll see him go up to Jerusalem, down to here, up there. It is there when you know that these places, these city names, they're states of consciousness. Moses went up the mountain. Now we're going to land on Ararat. We're going to go up a mountain. The ark, our consciousness has been lifted up. The original consciousness that God programmed was not high enough. There was violence on the earth. Cain killed Abel. Lamech killed somebody. The consciousness was not high enough. So the storm is actually doing what? It is not killing. It is actually elevating. But you need something buoyant enough to be elevated. You needed a boat. You needed an ark. You needed something to elevate. Everything is not buoyant. Everything does not rise with tide. Okay? And so what's happening is that our consciousness is being lifted up, with the ark representing our consciousness, and we're being lifted up above the original conscious mind. Yeah, Quinn said, it's everywhere, night and day, sleep and wake. And Quinn, we're going to come back to that at the end of chapter 8. Watch when we come back to that at the end of chapter 8, Quinn. All right. Y'all with me? So this is a good thing. This is a good thing. Okay. Only things that are dense in materiality sink in the midst of a storm. So we are trying to get beyond the conscious mind, which is based in materiality, so that we can be elevated by any storm that happens in our life. Verse 18. And the waters prevailed and were increased greatly upon the earth, and the ark went up upon the face of the waters. So now the ark was sitting on the conscious earth, right? The earth representing the conscious mind. Now the waters are coming up high enough to elevate. Okay, it's being lifted up. It's no longer on the earth. That's what it's saying here. Okay, and the waters prevailed exceedingly upon the earth, and all the high hills that were under the whole heaven were covered. So what are the high hills, family? What are the high hills? The high hills were our highest level of thinking at that state of consciousness, at that level of consciousness. They were the highest level of thought at that state of consciousness. Okay? So now all the high hills that were under the whole heaven were now covered. So we're going even beyond our old level of thinking. Remember, this is the first baptism story, family. This is the first baptism story. Our mind is being renewed, right? We're being upgraded. This is why it keeps calling it generations. First generation iPhone, second generation iPhone, third generation iPhone, 12th generation iPhone. Every generation gets better and better and better. God is not destroying. The Lord is not destroying. It is reprogramming so that we have higher levels of consciousness. It's a reprogramming, not a destroying. Because in, I think, Genesis 2, what did God tell Adam? He said, do what to the earth? Do what to the earth? God told Adam to do what to the earth? What was the word? Replenish the earth. Wait a second. To replenish something, that means that it was once full, then it got empty. Now I have to replenish it. This is why the whole notion of Adam being the first man is likely not true. To replenish something means that it was once full or once existed, then somehow became empty, and then now I must replenish it. This has been an iterative process. The elevation of human consciousness to be one with God has been an iterative process. So you're going to see these cycles, but I don't want you to see these cycles as us starting over. I want you to see these cycles as going up in a spiral. We're going in an upward spiral. And so in a spiral, you still cross that point every time of starting over. And tell me, is this not what happens in your life? Is this not what happens in your love life? Is this not what happens in your career? Is this not what happens in your business? You're going in these upward spirals. My business, you know how many businesses I've had? It's just an upward spiral though. Starting, stopping, reevaluating. It's an upward spiral. And every business that I create, every relationship that I have keeps getting better and better and better. So it's not just like a clock starting over. Oh, we're back to zero again. Let's just start it all over. No, it's not. Because now when we're starting over the next time, we have all the wisdom from the previous cycle. Remember, the Lord repented. The Lord repented that he had made man, that it had made man. Yes, God effed up. We don't blame the creation, we blame the creator. I don't blame my 7-year-old for not knowing how to do multiplication. That's on me, not her. But religion will have you blaming you, the creation, when you did not program yourself. You did not program yourself. So how could you be to blame? God is going through its own iterative process as it becomes aware of itself through us. That's going to be hard for some people to receive. All right. So moving forward, 20, verse 20, 15 cubits upward did the waters prevail and the mountains were covered. Timeout, red flag, technical on the offense. 15 cubits. How many feet is 15 cubits? 22 feet. So you telling me that the highest mountain was only the size of 2 basketball hoops stacked on top of each other? You telling me that the highest mountain was only 22 feet? Get out of here. Because I actually know the height of Ararat. It's way more than 22 feet. Okay? 15 cubits upward did the waters prevail and the mountains were covered. Oh, this worldwide flood. No evidence. Okay. And the flesh died that moved upon the earth, both of fowl and of cattle and of beasts and of every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth, and every man. Okay. The flesh died. What does that mean? The five senses were no more. We are now in meditative state. We are now in meditative state. The flesh has died. I'm not being informed by sight when I'm meditating. I'm not being informed by smell. I'm not being informed by taste. I'm not being informed by hearing. And I'm not being informed by touch. In meditation, I go back to spirit. Remember, I have a body. I am not my body. The reason I call it my body, because there is something that is possessing the body. That something is who I truly am. I'm not my body. And so meditation is how we release or kill the flesh momentarily. I'm grateful for my body. Thank you for this temple. I bless my body, but my body does not control me. Spirit controls the mind, mind controls the body. When the body is in control, that's called a physical illness. When the mind is in control, that's called a mental illness. When the body is in control, that is a physical illness. That means your body is now more powerful than your mind and your spirit. When the mind is in control, that is called a mental illness. The mind is now more powerful than the body and the spirit. What we ultimately want to be is where spirit is at the top of this ladder, of this hierarchy. Okay? So, verse 2, all in whose nostrils was the breath of life, and all that was in the dry land died. So again, here we talk about breath again. Breath. This story is about meditation, breath, and not giving life to things that are not serving you. It's taking in all the goodness that has happened in your life, all the trauma that has happened in your life, it's taking it all in. This is part of my experience. I fully accept it. I'm not just taking the clean and leaving out the unclean. I'm taking it all in. But guess what? I don't give life. I don't give breath to the unclean. I give life to that which I want to reproduce in my life. That which you appreciate, appreciates. So when you give attention and energy to something, guess what? You get more of it. Okay? So, all right. And every living substance, again, that word substance, was destroyed, which was upon the face of the ground. Okay. The ground, the earth being the conscious mind, right? The material experience of us, both man and cattle and the creeping things and the fowls of the heaven, and they were destroyed from the earth. And Noah only remained alive, and they that were with him in the ark. And the waters prevailed upon the earth, and 150 days. It's equivalent to 5 months. Deep breath, everybody. Deep breath. How you feeling? Should we pause here or should we go to 8? Because this is chapter 7 alone. Was deep. Should we go into 8 or should we save that for next week? Keep going. What y'all think? On social media, what y'all think? Should we keep going? I know we studied, but chapter 7 alone. So let's go. All right. I only got one person that said next week. No, a couple people. All right. I'm seeing mixed reviews. All right. Y'all say just pause. Yo. Man, let me look at 8 real quick. Is that 8? Y'all got me torn. My house is divided right now. Should we do it? Should we do 8? Let me see. How meaty is 8? 8. There's some good stuff in 8. I want to do it. All right. All right, cool. Next week. Yeah, what? There you go. What's this whole story about? What's Noah's name mean? What's Noah's name mean? Noah's name mean rest. So we just gonna rest. We gonna rest. All right. We gonna rest. All right. So real quick, I just want to do while we're here, I do want to do this number study on 7. Okay. I want to do this number study on 7. So 7 comes up a lot, and we need to find out what the significance of 7 is. 7 has been known as a number of perfection or completion, because that's God completed the world on the 7th day, right? So number 7, here's the instances, the main instances that I've seen it come up, all right? 7 days of creation, 7 days before the flood rains, Cain was avenged 7 times, Lamech was avenged 77 times, 7th chakra or the crown chakra, Sabbath on the 7th day of the week, walk around the walls of Jericho 7 times, 7 fragments left over, forgive 7 times 7, heat the furnace 7 times hotter, 7 spirits return, take 7 clean ones to Noah, 7 steps, Jacob bows to Esau 7 times, Jacob labored 7 years to win the hand of Rachel. In Joseph's time, Egypt suffered 7 years of plenty and 7 years of famine. Israelites ate unleavened bread 7 days in memory of Exodus. Naaman dipped toe to cure leprosy 7 times in the Jordan River. 7 churches, 7 seals, 7 angels, 7 trumpets, 7 bows, 7 stars, and 7 hills in Revelation. Okay, so there's something. Oh, is it 70 times 7 for forgiveness? Forgiveness is where did I write that? It's somewhere here. All right, so there's something here with the number 7. So when you see these things and you're like, oh, that must be literal. It actually took 7 days, right? No, man. That's not how it works. These numbers are sacred numbers, and they are trying to tell us something. They're trying to tell us something. All right. So when you see numbers like that, I created a page that documents all the occurrences of 7 that I see. So I encourage you in your own study to, what is it, 70 times 7? Here we go. I encourage you to do number studies like that. We have 40 days and 40 nights that have come up consistently. All right. And then, yeah. Whew. All right. So last week, did I do the Noah Jesus connection? Did I do the Noah Jesus connection? I already did that. So you're right. Father's Day is next Sunday, and I am going to be with my little one. Yeah, we're gonna have to bypass next Sunday, y'all. We're gonna have to bypass next Sunday. So what I want you to do is we will do chapter 8. So next week's homework is going to be chapter 8, chapter 9, chapter 8, chapter 9. Yeah, chapter 8, chapter 9, and chapter 10. Okay. Chapter 8, chapter 9, and chapter 10 will be next week's homework. All right. So you have 2 weeks. We're going to take next week off due to Father's Day. There's also the event in Brooklyn that I'll be at, the Black Money Forum. Let me actually put that in chat. The Black Money Forum. If you are in New York, come join us there. blackmoneyforum.com. The tickets are free, so go ahead and get your ticket. If you are not in the Facebook group, if you're not in the Facebook group, if you're joining us on social media, go to jointruthseekers.com. All plural. It should be pinned at the top. Jointruthseekers.com. And that's where you will be able to get access to the Facebook group and get the Zoom link. But we're going to take next week off, and homework is going to be chapter 8, chapter 9, and chapter 10. Chapter 8, chapter 9, and chapter 10 of Genesis will be next week. And cool. So with that, what I want everybody to do is in chat, I want you to type in what was your greatest takeaway or aha moment from today. What was your greatest takeaway or aha moment from today as we read Genesis chapter 7? What blew your mind the most? What stuck out? And how will you apply this to your life? For me, meditate. Meditate, meditate, meditate. This is how we purify the mind, the conscious mind, without having to kill the flesh in order to do so. Shaquana says, rest, slow down. Tracy says, yes, way more meditation. Ararat, where you land after meditation is either holy or in wilderness. Yes. Meditation, Ark, Noah, and Jesus. Meditation is a must. Meditation to rest the conscious mind. Elevation is simply meditation, which is done on a daily basis, all day long for me. Yes, Vanessa, through meditation, I can control the flesh or give it less power. Sierra, importance of meditation to elevate the mind. 22 means the highest spiritual consciousness. Thank you, Lauren. All right. April, calm my thoughts while in meditation so I can receive guidance from God. Yes. Jamil, even in our worst time, the plan is by God. Mary, no duality is created by the limits of our minds. It is all of value and use to God. Yes. Bria, meditation is the surrender to duality with a higher consciousness. Yes, Bria, I love that. Meditation is a surrender to duality with a higher consciousness. So it's not saying I need to get rid of unclean or evil or bad thoughts. They are part of my experience, and I get to choose which of my thoughts I'm going to give breath or life to. All right. All right. So anybody else, go ahead and copy those and put those in the Facebook group just so we have documentation of them. Here on Zoom, they will be gone into the ether forever. So copy what you put in as your greatest takeaway and put that in the Facebook group so we have documentation there as we continue our journey through Genesis. We're going to take next week off due to Father's Day and the Black Money Forum, and we will be back the following week. Homework, because we're away for 2 weeks, homework will be Genesis 8, 9, and 10. 8, 9, and 10 will be your homework. So I encourage you to read those 3 times each before we meet again in 2 weeks. All right. So I appreciate each and every one of you. This was absolutely amazing. I thank you for trusting me to guide you on this journey. I do not claim to be your leader here. The ultimate goal is for you to come to your own deeper understandings based on the revelations that you're getting from your source. All I'm doing is facilitating a process. And so I hope some of my divine downloads were able to help you see this particular story in brand new ways with a new set of lenses and renew your mind. And I think the consensus is the power of meditation and how we use meditation to establish our power, our control, our command over our dominion over the flesh, which is the extension of the conscious mind, and how we can accept the clean and unclean, the pure and impure thoughts that are within our consciousness without judgment. All right. Appreciate you all for being here today. I look forward to doing this study with you next week, and not next week, in 2 weeks from now, after Father's Day, the week after Father's Day. And with that, I'll send you all for love. All right. Peace.